So, utilities, phone, internet, cable TV, these are not utilities. Utilities are the necessities. So electricity, natural gas, if that's being used for cooking and heating oil, which does not ever occur in Florida, but up north they use heating oil through the radiators and whatnot, and water. These are utilities. Utilities are measured using meters. So it's the machine that measures the usage of your utilities. They can be digital or they can be analog. Electricity is measured in watts, specifically measured in watt hours, which is how many watts you use in an hour. And it's billed in kilowatt hours. So for every 1,000 watts used in an hour, you have 1 kilowatt hour. So that's how they charge for your electricity. And then water is measured in cubic feet, not gallons. On your bill, it might say gallons, but when they measure it through the meters, it's measured in cubic feet because it's a volume. I mean, gallons are also volume, but it's the flow rate and things. It's easier to measure cubic feet than it is to measure gallons. So they measure it in cubic feet. They charge it in gallons. They convert it. So on your bill, it'll say gallons, but it's actually been measured in cubic feet. Yes. CCF is 100 cubic feet. This is what water is billed in, is CCFs, and 1 CCF, which is 100 cubic feet, is 748 gallons, which means that every cubic foot is 7.48 gallons, so almost 8 gallons in a cubic foot. Okay, so this is the unit water is billed in. Anybody get a water bill ever? Okay, water is billed in CCFs, which is 748.05 gallons per 1 CCF, which is 100 cubic feet. And the way they do it, the meter is running constantly. When they read your meter, they don't reset it. It doesn't like go back to 0 and then start measuring again. They have, when they calculate your bill, they have a record of the previous reading. So that's the volume that had been used the last time the meter was read. And then they take the present reading. And so your usage is present minus previous. And that's the same with electricity. The meters just keep running until they roll over back to zeros again. And they always do present minus previous, because if you were like in between, the meter isn't necessarily sensitive enough to read in between gallons or in between cubic feet. So if you were like, let's say you were actually at 3128.6, but it won't read the 0.6, that will come into the new reading. So any in-between amounts will show up on the new usage. So it gets charged that way. So if you look at your water bill, the previous reading was 3128 and the present reading is 3141. So to find out his usage, I take the 3141 minus the 3128. And so he used 13 CCFs. A CCF is 748.05 gallons. So multiply that by 748.05, and Tom used 9,724 gallons. So that's what would actually show up on his water bill. All right, reading a meter. Okay, you read the meter in the order that it's going. So here it's going 0 through 9 this way, so this one gets read that direction. Here it's going 0 through 9 this way, so this one gets read that direction. This one gets read in that direction. This one gets read in this direction and that direction. And you always read, let me write this actually elsewhere. The lower. Okay, so here's why. As this makes a rotation from 0 to 9, this will make a rotation from 5 to 6. And as this makes a rotation from 0 to 9, this will be making its rotation from 5 to 6. So each one rotation on this dial moves this one number. Each full rotation on this dial moves this one number, etc. So what happens is when this is between 5 and 6, this is still rotating. This hasn't moved up to 6 yet, so you would read this as 5. Always the number lower. Does that make sense? So here I'm between 1 and 2, so this is a 1. Here I'm between 5 and 6, so this is a 5. Here I'm between 5 and 6 again, so that's a 5. I'm between 0 and 9. I'm going this direction, so 9 is actually smaller than 0 in this case. 0 is counting as a 10 here. Does that make sense? Because I'm reading in this direction. So this is a 9. And here I'm between 0 and 1, but because I'm reading in this direction, I haven't hit 1 yet, so this is a 0. Does that make sense? Okay, so their electric reading is 9,551 watts. Sorry, not watts, kilowatts. Kilowatts.
Is that what they're asking for when they say these places are hiring for meter readers?
Okay, an electric mixer requires 125 watts. So how much would it cost to run it for 90 minutes at 10 cents per kilowatt hour? Okay, so what we need to figure out is how many kilowatt hours we're using first. So first we figure out how many watt hours we're using. 90 minutes is 1.5 hours. Okay. It uses 125 watts just to be on. So it's using 125 watts every constant second, you know. So you take that 125 watts times the 1.5 hours, and you're going to have 187.5 watt hours. Okay. Now electricity is charged in kilowatts, not watts, and there's 1,000 watts in a kilowatt. So I'm going to take that 187.5 watt hours, and I'm going to divide it by 1,000. And that's going to give me kilowatt hours. So I'm using 0.1875 kilowatt hours, and it's being charged 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So I take that 0.1875 kilowatt hours and I multiply that by 10 cents, and I get 1.875, but we can't charge less than a penny, so it's 1.9. Oops, sorry, not. I put the decimal in the wrong place. Sorry, it's 0.01875, but we don't charge, so it's 0.02 cents. So it's 2 cents to use that mixer for an hour and a half. Because they don't charge parts of it. Budgeted billing. Have you guys ever heard of budget billing? Budget billing. Electric companies will offer what they call budget billing, and because electric varies, like depending on where you live, up north electricity is higher in the winter because of heating and lower in the summer because of cooling. Down here electricity is higher in the summer because of cooling and lower in the winter because a lot of people don't even have to run their heat, or we just turn off the air conditioning. So the utility companies will offer what they call budget billing, and what they do is they take your year's average usage, like they take the total for the whole year and they divide it by 12, and they charge you that as your monthly bill. And if it turns out that you overpaid, then you get a little credit starting the next year. And if it turns out you underpaid, your next year is a little bit higher to make up for what you underpaid. Because it's an average, and electricity usage will vary, so you may use more one year than you did the previous year or less, and so they adjust it. So what they'll do is, if you spent $3,000, let's say, for electricity for the whole year, they take that 3,336 and they divide it by 12. So 3,336 divided by 12. So they're going to pay $278 per month. And that keeps them from having to pay, $100 for a couple months and then $400 for a couple months. It makes it even, so it makes it easier to budget, which is really nice because you have no surprises. You know how much your electric bill is going to be every single month for that year.
So you actually get a refund?
If you overpaid, well, it's not like a refund. What they do is they adjust it down the following year. So they take, let's say you overpaid $60. The following year, you'd have $5 off every month. They'd lower it by $5 a month to make it up, kind of thing. Or they might lower the first bill $60 and then bring you back up to your budget, kind of thing. They don't send you the money, but they adjust the bills. Now, let's say you're getting a brand new place and you never had an account with that electric company before. You can still do budget billing. What they do is they take the averages of the houses in the area to calculate your budgeted bill for that year, and then they adjust it based on your actual usage. So you can still do balanced budgeting even if you haven't had that company before. And it's really, really nice to do balanced billing because every month my electric bill is going to be exactly this much money, and it makes it very easy to budget that way. Like I said, there's not any surprises until maybe the end of the year. If they underbilled you, you might have a bigger bill following that. Energy efficiency. Buying energy efficient appliances, yes, it costs money, but then it ends up paying for itself because your electric bill comes down, and so you save that money every month until it evens out. So let's look at this. We have a water heater that used to cost $455 per year. So this is the old one. And they're buying a new one for $1,240. Okay, but they're going to get 31% savings off of their annual energy usage. So we take that $455 and we multiply it by the 31%. Which means we're going to save $141.05 per year. Okay, so we take the cost of the water heater and we divide it by the savings. And that water heater is going to be paying for itself in 8 years. Almost 9, but you get the idea. So 9 years, let's say. So here's how you figure out if these energy efficient appliances are worth it. You look at the life expectancy of the appliance. Okay. A water heater is expected to last, depending on the brand and the size and everything, between 10 and 20 years. So if this is a 10-year water heater, it may last longer than 10 years, but they are saying 10 years is what you can expect to get out of it. It paid for itself, and you still have a year's left of savings. So it would be worth it. If this was a water heater that was only going to last 5 years, it may not be worth paying that much for it. Do you see what I mean? Because it wouldn't actually pay for itself in the savings. Now, of course, if your old water heater breaks, you have to buy a new one anyway. It's kind of a non-issue at that point. But if you're looking at upgrading to energy efficient appliances, they will pay for themselves in savings. And then you have to look at how much you're going to save versus how long the thing will last to find out if it will actually pay for itself before it's going to die. The other thing, though, in addition to paying for itself, some qualify for tax breaks. Okay, so you just have to look at the appliances to see if they're the ones that qualify for tax breaks, because then they can also pay for themselves in tax breaks, which would lower this. So like let's say the water heater qualified, that might mean it pays for itself in 6 years instead of 8.
Solar panels as well, we have.
All right, so electronic utilities. This includes things like internet. Now these are not like normal utilities. These are like, you know, extra kind of things. Cell phone, TV, so cable or satellite. No, absolutely not. This is, well, that's why I said extras on your budget project, because this is a luxury. These are things, yes, personally, I feel like I cannot live without the internet, plus one of my jobs depends on the internet. However, it is a luxury. Okay, so internet, cell phone, television, these are luxuries. These are things to consider when you're trying to determine if you should put them in your budget or not. Okay, do you spend a lot of time on the internet? If you barely ever use the internet, it may not be worth spending the money to have it at your house. It might be better just to go to the library or something. This one doesn't really count anymore since most plans are all unlimited now. But we can say how many minutes. Because you can still get phone plans that have minute limits. Yeah. Okay, well, how about this? How much data? You know, because do you need like a low data plan, 1 or 2 gigs? Or do you need like an unlimited data plan? So, you know, these are things to consider. Do you know the provisions of your cell phone contract? What happens if you go over your limits? How much does that cost you? You should know this because it's very important, because you could end up with a ridiculous bill. Let me tell you what happened once on my phone bill. I used to have a bill that had, or a plan that had like unlimited nights and weekends and then so many minutes a month. But it was like, no, it was one of the other ones. But I had a bunch of minutes and I wasn't using that many minutes. So when I wanted to lower my bill, I called them up and I asked them what was my average usage and so I could lower my plan. Well, when they figured out what plan I should have, they neglected to take into account the free nights and weekends that I had been getting, and they were only counting the day minutes. So when I got my next bill, it was $650 because they had told me this really super low plan, and I went way over the minutes because I don't call anybody during the day. I always do my calling at nights and on the weekends. Well, no, I had switched to a cheaper plan that didn't include free nights and weekends, but it was a cheaper plan. So in any case, of course I did call and I got it changed because of being misinformed and everything, and so it was their fault, not mine. However, had it been my fault, I would have had a $600 cell phone bill because of the overages. And so you want to know how much overages are going to cost you. And nowadays it's pretty much data overages more than anything, but those data overages are even more expensive than minute overages on calling. Do you watch cable or satellite? Or would something like Netflix or Hulu be okay for you? Okay, or Amazon Prime or something. You know, do you need the cable and satellite, or is it a $30 or $40 a month? You know, because cable and satellite is like $100 a month. Just even if it says it's not $100 a month, it's always $100 plus a month. What do you know about the different plans available? Call around, shop and compare. Do you have the optimal plan for your usage? If you only watch one channel and you only watch like 2 shows, should you pay for cable? No. Go on Hulu. Are you checking your bills each month to see if they're correct? It's very important. They may not be. And can you change or adjust your usage to lower your costs? Setting your thermostat higher when you're not home saves you electricity, you know, during the day. Not a lot, like not 5 or 10 degrees difference, but 1 or 2 degrees difference during the day. Doesn't use a lot of electricity to cool it back down 2 degrees when you get home. But that 8 to 10 hours that you're not home during the day, that's going to save you a lot of money. because you're not using that much electricity. So you can actually spend thousands of dollars on electronic utilities, and you can save a lot of money by changing plans and knowing the details of your plans, and maybe switching companies. Because even, you know how you get locked into these contracts? A lot of times, if you call up the company that has the better deal and you tell them, oh, I would totally go with you guys, but it's going to cost me $200 to break my contract with this other company. A lot of times they'll pay that fee for you.
AT&T, we almost.
Hey guys, do you remember payphones? That's the phone where you put money in it to make a call. So we're going to travel back in time to the 1980s when cell phones didn't really exist yet. I mean, they existed, but only if you were loaded. And if you were out and about, you wanted to call somebody, you had to use a pay phone. They would charge 35 seconds for the first 3 minutes and 19 cents for each extra minute. You would get charged for a whole minute even if you used a part of a minute. And that's the way early cell phone plans worked too. If you used 5 seconds, you got charged for a full minute.
It's like the Obama phone.
Okay, so how much is a 7.5-minute phone call? Well, for the first 3 minutes is 35 cents. Okay, you're talking 7.5 minutes, so there's 4.5 minutes left at 19 cents each. Well, half a minute gets charged for a full minute, so that's really 5 minutes at 19 cents each. Really. So that is 5 times 19, which is 95 cents. So I have 35 cents and 95 cents. So to talk to your friend for 7 minutes would have cost you $1.30. This is called a piecewise function. We saw these, remember when we talked about the ads and I said you didn't have to build one, but you had to understand how to read one? Okay, so this cell phone plan, this is $40 and it includes 750 minutes. Okay. Then what happens is this right here tells you it's 35 cents per minute over 750. And that includes parts of minutes. So if you talk for 750 and a half minutes, you're going to get charged 35 cents for that half a minute. Okay? That's what we just did right there. We interpreted it. So this first line means it's $40 a month and includes 750 minutes. And these other 2 lines are telling me that it's 35 cents per minute or part of a minute for any minute over 750. Okay? So if we have somebody that used 1,234 minutes, we want to find out how much it cost them. So 750 minutes was included. So that's 484 minutes over their included. So they're going to have $40 plus 35 cents each for 484 minutes. So that's $169 in overages. So their bill, instead of being $40, is going to be $209.40. That's why it's important to know the details of your plan and know how much it's going to cost you if you go over. Julianne gets charged per text message. You guys remember back when cell phones were new and it was like 10 cents a minute or something on your text, or 10 cents a text? You'd get like 50 free a month, and then it would be 10 cents each after that or something. Well, here's a plan that's $40 for unlimited versus 15 cents each. Okay. We want to know if she's using 800 messages a month, how much would she save by switching to the unlimited plan? So we say 800 times 15 cents each is $120. So if she switches, she's saving 80 bucks a month. Okay. On a plan like this, hold on a second. Not have to do this with minute or texts anymore, because most plans are unlimited texting now. But you may have to do it with minutes, and you definitely might have to do it with data. So you can figure out how much of one do you have to use to make it worth switching to the unlimited plan and paying for the unlimited plan. So, okay, here's an example with texting. It's $45 for unlimited texting, or 12 cents each for not unlimited. Okay, so what you can do is you can figure out what's that break-even point. So it's how many texts to where the plans cost the same. Okay, so 12 cents each, so we divide $45 by 12 cents. And that would be 375 texts. So basically, that would help you make a decision. If you use less than this, you'd go with the 12-cent plan. If you use more than this, you would go with the unlimited. And you can figure that out with data, because you can find out how much they charge per, I don't know if they charge megabytes or kilobytes on data. I know they don't charge by gig. They charge by megabytes or kilobytes when you go over.
It's per, I know T-Mobile, it's, if you go over a certain amount, it just slows it down. It stays
No, that's,
unlimited no matter what.
no, there's some plans though that
Oh, yeah, but I'm
if
saying,
you go
like,
over
if
your,
you do have to pay, like if you go 1 megabyte over, they automatically charge you for 100.
okay, so some might do that. But that's what I mean. You can take that and you can figure out, like, this is how much it costs for unlimited data, this is how much it costs for this plan, this plan, this plan, whatever. And you can take how much they charge on the overages, and you can figure how far over would you have to go for the plans to cost the same. And then you can decide, okay, do I use this much data or not? Like, is it better for me to have the unlimited plan and pay that extra every month versus paying an overage if I go over? You know, so that helps you to pick plans. That's what this can do. That's a really good thing. Of course, you've got bundles. You guys see your bundles all the time, right? So like here's OptiZone, cable, TV, and internet and phone is $95 a month for 3 services for the first year, and then 10% increase on the second year, versus paying for everything separately, $49 for your phone, $35 for your internet, $50 for your cable. How much will you save per month if you switch? Okay, well, we're talking about the second year, so after the discount, but it's going to increase by 10%. So we multiply that by 10%, and that's a $9.50 increase. So it's going to be, oops, 95 plus 950 the second year, so that's 104.50. Currently, she's paying 49 plus 35 plus 50. So 49 plus 85 is 134. So if she bundles, even after their increase, she's going to save $29.50 every month. Which, if you wanted to figure that out annually, that's $354 saved per year.